Redwald series, Mossflower. Late autumn winds sighed fitfully around the open gatehouse door, rustling golden brown leaves in the fading afternoon. Bella of Brock Hall snuggled deeper into her old armchair by the fire. Through half-closed eyes, she watched the small mouse peering around the doorway at her. Come in. Come in, little one. And close the door. The small mouse did as he was bidden. Encouraged by the badger's friendly smile, he clambered up onto the arm of the chair and settled himself against a cushion. You said you would tell me a story, Miss Bella. The badger nodded slowly. Everything you see, the harvest that has been gathered from the russet apples to the golden honey, is yours to enjoy in freedom. Listen now as the breeze sweeps the last autumn leaves off into the world of winter. I will tell you of the time long before Redwall Abbey was built in Mossflower, where in those days there was no freedom for woodlanders. We were oppressed cruelly under the harsh rule of Verdaga, Green Eyes, and his daughter, Zarmina. It was a mouse like yourself who saved Mossflower. His name is known to all, Martin the Warrior. Ah, my little friend, I am grown old. So are my comrades. Their sons and daughters are fathers and mothers now, but that is life. The seasons still look new to young eyes. The food tastes fresher in the mouths of the young ones than it does in my own. As I sit here in the warmth and peace, it all lives again in my memory. A strange tale of love and war, friend and foe, great happenings and mighty deeds. Gaze into the fire, young one. Listen to me, and I will tell you the story. Book 1, Cotier. Mossflower lay deep in the grip of midwinter beneath a sky of leaden gray that showed tinges of scarlet and orange on the horizon. A cold mantle of snow draped the landscape, covering the flatlands to the west. Snow was everywhere, filling the ditches, drifting high against hedgerows, making paths invisible, smoothing the contours of earth in its white embrace. The gaunt, leafless ceiling of Mossflower, the wood was penetrated by constant snowfall, which carpeted the sprawling woodland floor, building canopies on evergreen shrubs and brushes. Winter had muted the earth. The muffled stillness was broken only by a traveler's pause. A sturdily built young mouse with quick, dark eyes was moving confidently across the snowbound country. Looking back, he could see his tracks disappearing northward into the distance. Farther south, the flatlands rolled off endlessly, flanked to the west by the faint shape of distant hills, while to the east, the long, ragged fringe marking the marches of Mossflower. His nose twitched at the elusive smell of burning wood and turf from some hearth fire. Cold wind soughed from the treetops, causing whorls of snow to dance in icy spirals around him. The traveler gathered his ragged cloak tighter, adjusted an old rusting sword that was slung across his back, and trudged steadily forward, away from the wilderness to where other creatures had lived. It was a forbidding place, made mean by poverty. Here and there he saw signs of habitation. The dwellings, ravaged and demolished, made pitiful shapes under snowdrifts. Rearing high against the forest, a curious building dominated the ruined settlement. A fortress, crumbling, dark, brooding. It was a symbol of fear to the woodland creatures of Mossflower. This was how Martin the warrior first came to Cotir, place of the wildcats. In a mean hovel on the south side of Cotir, the Stickle family crouched around a low turf fire. It gusted fitfully as the night winds pierced the slatted timbers where mud chinking had not been replaced. A timid scratch at the door caused him to jump nervously. Ben Stickle picked up a billet of firewood, motioning his wife, Goody, to keep their 4 little ones well back in the shadows. As the good wife Stickle covered her brood with coarse burlap blankets, Ben took a firmer grip on the wood and called out harshly in his gruffest voice, "Be off with you and leave us alone. There's not enough food in here to go around a decent hedgehog family. You've already taken half all we have to swell the larders of Cotir." Ben, 'tis I, Earthclaw. Open up. Brrr, 'tis freezing out here." As Ben Stickle opened the door, a homely-faced mole trundled by him and hurried across to the fire, where he stood rubbing his digging claws together in front of the flames. The little ones peeped out from beneath the blankets. Ben and Goody turned anxious faces toward their visitor. Earthclaw rubbed warmth into his cold nose as he talked in the curious rustic mole speech. "Vermin patrols be out, brr. Weasels and stoats and the like. They'm a-looking for more victuals." Goody shook her head as she wiped the little one's snout on her apron. "I knew it. We should have run off and left this place like the others. Where, in the name of Spikes, will we find food to pay their tolls?" Ben Stickle threw down the piece of firewood, desperate. "Where can we run in midwinter with 4 little ones? They'd perish before spring." Earthclaw produced a narrow strip of silver birch bark and held a paw to his mouth, indicating silence. Scratched on the bark in charcoal was a single word, Corim. Beneath it was a simple picture map showing the route into Mossflower woods, far from Cotir. Ben studied the map, torn between the chance of escape and his family's predicament. The frustration was clear on his face. "Bang, bang! Open up in there! Come on, get this door open. This is an official Cotir patrol." Soldiers! Ben took one last hasty glance at the strip of bark and threw it on the fire. As Goody lifted the latch on the door, it was forcefully thrust inward. She was swept to one side as the soldiers packed into the room out of the winter night chill. They pushed and shoved at each other roughly. A ferret named Blacktooth and a stoat called Splitnose seemed to be in charge of the patrol. Ben Stickle sighed with relief as they turned away from the burning strip of bark and stood with their backs to the fire. "Well now, Dozy Spikes, where are you hiding all the bread and cheese and October ale?" Ben could scarce keep the hatred from his voice as he answered the sneering Blacktooth. "It's many a long season since I tasted cheese or October ale. There's bread on the shelf, but only enough for my family." Split-Nose spat into the fire and reached for the bread. Ben Stickle was blocked from stopping the stoat by a barrier of spear hafts as he tried to push forward. Goody placed a restraining paw on her husband's spikes. "Please, Ben, don't fight 'em, the great bullies." Earthclaw chimed in. "Yor ain't much ye can do again spears, Ben." Blacktooth turned to the mole as if seeing him for the first time. "Huh, what are you doing here, Blink Eye?" One of the little hedgehogs threw the sacking aside and faced the stoat boldly. "You leave him alone. He came in for a warm by our fire." Split-Nose burst out laughing, spraying crumbs from the bread he was eating. "Look out, Blackie, there's more of 'em under that blanket. I'd watch him if I were you." A nearby weasel threw back the covering, exposing the other 3 young ones. Blacktooth sized them up. "They look big enough to do a day's work." Goodwife Stickle sprang fiercely in front of them. "You let my little ones be. They ain't harmed nobody." Blacktooth seemed to ignore her. He knocked the loaves from Split-Nose's paws and then turned to a weasel, issuing orders. "Pick that bread up and no sly munching. Deliver it to the stores when we get back to the garrison." Waving his spear, he signaled the patrol out of the hut. As Blacktooth left, he called back to Ben and Goody. "I want to see those 4 hogs out in the fields tomorrow. Either that or you can all spend the rest of the winter safe and warm in Cotier's dungeons." Earthclaw kept an eye to a crack in the door, watching the patrol make its way towards Cotier. Ben wasted no time. He started wrapping the young ones in all the blankets they possessed. "Right, that's it. Enough is enough. We go tonight. You're right, old girl. We should have left to live in the woods. Oh, left with the rest long ago. What do you say, Earthclaw?" The mole stood with his eye pressed against the crack. Come here, look at this." While Ben shared the crack with his friend, Goody continued swathing her young ones with blankets. "What is it, Ben? They're not coming back, are they?" "No, wife. Ho, ho. Look at that by hokey. See the punch he landed on that weasel's nose. Go on, give it to him, laddo." Ferdy, the little one who had spoken up, scuttled over and tugged at Ben's paw. "Punch? Who punched a weasel? What's happening?" Ben described the scene as he watched it. "It's a mouse, a big strong feller. He's trying. They're trying to capture him. That's it. Now kick him again, mouse. Go on. Ha ha. You'd think a full patrol of soldiers could handle a mouse, but not this one. He must be a real trained warrior. Phew, look at that. He's knocked Blacktooth flat on his back. Pity they're hanging onto his sword like that by the spikes. He'd cause some damage if he had that blade between his paws, rusty as it is." Ferdy jumped up and down. Let me see. I want to look." Earthclaw turned slowly away from the door. "Ain't much use, little edge pig. Them gore him down now, aye, and roped up too. War pity. They be too many for him to fight. He am a girt brave warrior, though." Ben was momentarily crestfallen, and he clapped his paws together. Now is the time. While the patrol's busy with the fighter, they've got a job on their paws, dragging him back to the cat castle. Come on, let's get it going while the going's good. A short while later, the fire was burning to embers in an empty hut. As the little band trudged into the vast woodland sprawl of Mossflower, blinking water from their eyes as they kept their heads down against the keen wind. Earthclaw followed up the rear, obliterating the paw tracks from the snowy ground. That is the end of chapter 1.